Welcome back to Public Domain Theater. For those of you who are ardent fans of the film Bela Lugosi Meets a Brooklyn Gorilla, and I know you're out there, starring the classic comedy duo of Duke Mitchell and Sammy Petrello, I feel that I must let you in on a little-known secret before I roll out tonight's film. Mitchell and Petrello's act was, apparently, stolen from two other guys. I know, right? Mind blown. In 1946, a skinny, funny-looking kid from Newark named Joseph Levitch was making the nightclub rounds by lip-syncing to popular records. Soon he teamed up with a handsome crooner named Dino Paul Crocetti, and the comedy song stylings of Crocetti and Levitch took the world by storm. Wait a second, that doesn't sound right. Oh yeah, they actually went by the names of Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis. Tonight's film, At War with the Army, is the second film that Martin and Lewis made, but it was the third one released. Their first film, My Friend Irma, was a huge hit even though they were in supporting roles and were not really a team in the film. To capitalize on that film's success, the boys took part in its sequel, My Friend Irma Goes West, which was shot after and released before At War with the Army. With the Irma films done and an extremely popular nightclub act, Martin and Lewis were set to conquer the world. The film is based on a play that ran for 151 performances from 1948 to 1949. It's set at an army post in Kentucky in 1944. First Sergeant Puccinelli, Martin, and Private First Class Corwin, Lewis, were a nightclub act before joining the army. Puccinelli wants to be sent overseas, and Corwin wants a 3-day pass to see his wife and newborn baby. There are some other characters and crazy situations, mostly played out on the same sets. That's how you can tell it was originally a play. It's not until the last half of the film that you get a glimpse of the real chemistry that the stars have. Dino gets in some songs, and even though they were not big hits, it's still really great to hear him sing. And Jerry also has some fun breaking out of his high-pitched shtick and doing a pretty good Marlene Dietrich impersonation. This film also marks the debut of Polly Bergen, who plays Dino's love interest. She has had a long career and appeared in such films as the original Cape Fear and TV shows like The Love Boat, The Sopranos, and Desperate Housewives. She is of no relation to Murphy Brown's Candice Bergen, but she is the mother-in-law to Laverne and Shirley's Squiggy, David L. Lander. Just a bit of useless trivia for you. Here's some more trivia. Near the end of the film, Dean and Jerry do impersonations of two famous actors from a classic movie. See if you can figure out who they are and what movie they were in. Get your popcorn and your soda, make note of the nearest emergency exit, and switch off your cell phone or pager. Public Domain Theater is proud to present Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis starring in At War with the Army. So, did you guess who Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis were impersonating during the talent show? One of them is fairly easy. Dean Martin did a spot-on Bing Crosby, but who was Jerry Lewis doing? It's veteran character actor Barry Fitzgerald. And the film? 1944's Best Picture winner Going My Way, which also won Oscars for both Barry and Bing. The contracts that Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis signed with Paramount allowed them to make one picture outside of the studio. They made At War with the Army with their own production company, York Productions. They got paid very small salaries in exchange for a huge amount of the film's profits. When it was released, though, they ended up in a very long legal battle, and after several years, the duo relinquished all rights to the film and never made another outside picture again. At War with the Army's copyright expired in 1977 and was not renewed, thus sending it into the public domain for our enjoyment. Dean Martin and Jerry Lewis made 14 more films together before the act broke up in 1956. Martin starred in such films as Rio Bravo, Airport, and the original Ocean's 11 with Frank Sinatra. He was also the host of the popular Dean Martin's Celebrity Roasts. His greatest contribution to the world of entertainment was, without a doubt, his voice. His renditions of That's Amore, Volare, and Ain't That a Kick in the Head are genuine classics. My wife and I even danced our very first dance at our wedding to Dino's Until the Real Thing Comes Along. Jerry Lewis both starred in and directed several hit films, including The Disorderly Orderly and the original Nutty Professor. He garnered rave reviews as a talk show host turned kidnap victim in Martin Scorsese's The King of Comedy, co-starring Robert De Niro. But perhaps his greatest contribution has been his humanitarian work. From the early 1950s to 2011, Lewis served as the national chairman of the Muscular Dystrophy Association. In 2009, he received the Jean Hersholt Humanitarian Award at the 81st Annual Academy Awards. If you have any suggestions for films you'd like to see or you just want to say hello, you can leave me a message on Facebook, Public Domain Theater, Twitter @Cherokee_Jack, or YouTube, FL Warmer. Until next week, remember, don't drink and drive, look both ways before crossing the street, and always chew your food. Good night! You watch me all the time, don't you? All throughout the year. Little Hand says it's time to rock and roll. Don't ask me what I'm doing. See, I'm getting further along in the script every time I mess up, so by midnight, you guys are here till midnight, right? By midnight, I'll have this. You know, he lives in a box for, you know, for what, 11 months and like 2 weeks out of the year. So then I put him in a tree or put him up on the shelf and forget about him. This is the furthest he's been away from home in a long time. You know, I'm really tempted to just drink this warm milk. You know, it's been warming up for like 2 hours or so. Wouldn't that just be so tasty and creamy and curdled? All right, back in the box with you. Stupid elf.